free to go.
Thank you, Richard. This is the regular meeting of the EDC. We've had apologies for absence from Neil Frownglass, who's on the telephone, and from Duncan Webb, who's travelling. I'm hoping Richard will come very shortly. First item is to approve the minutes of last month's meeting. Can I have a proposal for that? Thank you. Jane, seconder. Bianca, any discussion? All in favour?
Aye.
Any opposed? No? Carried. Excellent. As I was mentioning just before we started this, Bill McLean has resigned from the Commission. He just felt he couldn't give enough time to this. So at this point we're going to be one person short. Hi, God. So we have a vacancy which we can think about filling, which we can come back to later. And with that, I'd like to ask Mason Law, the founder of Touch of Trade, an organization that supports the development of the next generation of trades and craftspeople, to make a presentation to the Commission.
Thank you. So I'm Mason Lord. I have an office in Kent. My company, Hudson Valley Preservation, is sponsoring and leading this initiative. It's called Touch a Trade, and we're having an event this October 22nd at the Connecticut Antique Machinery Association in the Eric Sloan Museum, where we're going to have presenters create experiences for young people or older people. There's no age limit to use their hands with tools, making or repairing something. So this is something that's been part of my passion for a long time, and 20 years ago when I was first thinking about it, I have three sons. My middle son had a friend who was high-functioning autistic, and he was not doing great in school. He was somewhat disruptive, but I felt like if he had some sort of a path to get him into the trades, he was very creative, a bright person, and he actually was very good with his hands. But I felt like that was getting lost in the schools, and I think it's even worse now because there's no industrial arts programs. And young people they don't get any exposure to it, so they don't know whether they're going to like being in the trades or not. So this year we finally came up with this idea to have an event where people will come and participate. We have carpenters, we have woodworkers, we have plumbers, electricians, I think we're going to have some welders, a well drilling company that will have cutaways of things like hot water tanks or pressure tanks. We're also going to have some more sensory-friendly trades, such as knitters. We're going to have a forester. So that's what we're doing, and I have flyers that if people would like to put places. I also have cards, and I have stickers. Everybody likes stickers, right? So again, it's a free event. It's going to be at the Connecticut Antique Machinery Association, October 22nd. It's going to be from 10 to 4. We're looking for people that can volunteer to help out the day of. We're looking for more presenters. If anybody knows somebody in the trades that might be interested in teaching and helping out, that would be great. We're not yet a nonprofit. Hatch Space, which is a woodworking maker space in Brattleboro, Vermont, is acting as our fiscal sponsor. So they're 501c3, so all donations are tax deductible. And what else?
is there a broader mandate? I mean, is beyond the event, is there, I mean, sort of what's the longer term vision? I mean, how are you going to manifest yourself over the next, 2, 3, 5 years? It's a great effort. We need it, for sure.
That's a great question, thank you. Yeah, the mission is that we're going to continue events, continue programs. Maybe every month we'll have something where we invite a particular tradesperson that's skilled in teaching to put on something somewhere. 2 or 3 years we'd like to have summer camp, and the long-term vision is to have a space that we can buy or rent that will be a trades training space, hopefully in Litchfield County.
So having grown up in Europe, apprenticeships are like 3-year apprenticeship is like the norm for tradespeople, and I've witnessed that such is not even available here for most. And I think maybe working towards that, and these apprenticeships are always combined with schooling, so that kids, usually they come out of the 10th grade. They usually, attending a school that isn't going up to like 11th, 12th grade, because they are much more prone to want to work with their hands, and therefore they need more still going down the road in terms of schooling. So maybe to establish something like that, I would imagine, would be really helpful for a lot of these young people, and to have guidance down the road too, how to become a professional, to have a person to go and talk to, because not everyone, like a lot of people want to work for themselves, but managing money, finances, and establishing a business is not for everyone. And to have that guidance is, I think, really vital. I'm sure, you've had those struggles in your own business too.
And I think that's a great opportunity for the local businesses in Cornwall that are appropriate for this. It could be an opportunity for them to build apprentice programs. I'm just thinking about us reaching out to all the local, craft people, woodworkers, everyone that was just mentioned, to let them know that there's an opportunity here for them to go there and present, meet other people, meet potential people that might be able to work with them. That's a real benefit, that we could connect them to.
And also, take a place at the agricultural fairs, like the Cornwall Agricultural Fair, and various others around Litchfield County. There's also this Tonic Valley Regional High School, which has a very active agricultural program. Have you been in touch with them?
We have, yeah. We have a planning team of about 12 people right now that are all volunteering to help. And what you point out too is there's a lot of people that are my age and older that are moving out of the trades, and the knowledge is not getting passed on. And a lot of these people my age and older, they want to pass on what they know.
Mm-hmm. I would think that it's not a lack of an avenue for people to be apprentices. I think just about anybody, plumber, electrician, carpenters, if you want a job, well, I'll teach you. I mean, I think that would be what most of them are saying. They would offer jobs to many people. There are programs, certainly in plumbing and electrician. There's this step-by-step state mandated kind of thing with, I don't know, 1,000 hours, 3,000 hours, whatever it is, that to be able to get your license and be able to, and up until that point you are an apprentice. And you have to work under somebody.
Yeah, and that's more in the union world, really. Well, just ask, I don't know how many plumbers you know, but ask them about the help that they're getting.
Not much, that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
When you say that?
Well, people that they want to hire, they can't find anybody.
No, I understand. That's what I'm saying, that if you can find somebody who has a willingness, then,
That's the problem.
I mean,
The
that's,
willingness problem is a problem, and I think part of that is that they don't get exposed to it anywhere, so they grow up, they're in their phones, they're told to go to college, and the trades, there's a stigma. You know, you mentioned the schools and in Europe and all, but when somebody goes to a trade school here, there's like, oh, the dumb kids go there.
Do you know about the North Bennett Street?
I do.
That's a very good model, I think, for its related.
It is, it's a very expensive school too.
Right, but if one can use it as a model, but take the good things from it, they are training up craftspeople in
Yeah.
more in the crafts, like for instance, timber framing and their hand, their trades, but they're trades that are, you can make a good living if you learn them, doing
Yeah.
somewhat specialized things.
Yeah, I mean, there's no question, there's some very good programs out there, and this, I feel like this is the time now that it needs to happen, because this is popping up all over. I haven't had anybody say this is a bad idea yet, except for the woman that says you're gonna put somebody's eye out. But other than that,
Okay.
Wear goggles.
There's always one.
so-
Wondering if you have any Cornwall tradespeople with businesses operating in Cornwall already involved?
Northwest Lumber is gonna
Great.
donate some materials.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of others in Cornwall. Certainly we've been spreading the word all over. We were at the Antique Machinery Association. We had a booth there this weekend, and we got a lot of good attention there.
Are you publicizing this through the high school?
We've been contacting the high schools, and
Because one of the big concerns that I can see to make it work is that you have to get kids young enough so they're still living at home. Because they can't afford to live here otherwise, right, if they're still trying to learn a trade. So you really need, 14, 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds who are in their parents' home.
well, I think that our target really is middle schoolers.
Oh, younger,
But yeah, but certainly 14, 15, 16 and older.
So in addition to, spreading the word on our own, is there anything in particular that you feel the EDC could do? Like, would you be interested in having us try to reach out to the Cornwall business community and ask if there's any interest and to give them contact information to reach out to you, or
Sure.
something along those lines?
Absolutely, yeah. We had a Zoom this afternoon with 10 of the presenters. And one of the presenters is coming from Boone, North Carolina. And part of the mission is to create a template that this can be used in other areas. And part of the reason he wants to come is because he'd like to do that in his community. So, yeah, any help is appreciated, definitely.
Good. Well, thank you very much. We'll see what we can do to it.
One last question, do you have a website associated with it or
Yes,
something?
there is a website.
It's on this thing?
touchandtrade.org.
Okay, and you have Instagram there,
Yeah.
okay.
What was that again?
touchandtrade.org.
Thank you.
And these postcards are like post offices and stuff as well? I mean, well, I'm happy to take a few. But
Yeah,
have you done the rounds of that kind of thing? Okay.
Yeah, and believe me, we have like 5,000 of these. I don't know why we got 5,000, but
Okay.
So we can take some of these to distribute at the other
absolutely.
places.
Yep, I'm going to leave that all here. So,
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mason. Thanks very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do you have a garden person already lined up?
No, we don't actually. We're advertising it, and I can see people showing up and saying, I came here for planting a garden, and you don't have it.
Okay, so these are the people who are needed, or something?
We have plenty of carpentry, we've got a lot of woodworking, but we'll take more. Any craft, so the specifics are, you work with your hands, with tools, making or repairing something. So I think we might have a jewelry person. We're gonna have the Kent knitters that knit the quilts. They're gonna be there.
And is the format primarily demonstration or hands-on?
Hands-on. We want
Hands-on.
it to be participatory for the people that attend. We want them to hold tools. We want them to work with their hands.
Awesome.
Sure.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you
Thank you.
for your time.
I'll give you a contact.
Gary, are you ready for your?
No, let me just do this.
Pause.
You still with us, Neil?
I am. I'm just keeping you on mute so you don't hear my background.
Oh, okay. What are you playing?
She's the old and trying to see if she can help the garden.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Okay, EDC finances, our annual budget is $6,500. To date, we have committed to spending $23.41.50, all of it related to Cornwall Village Wi-Fi, which leaves us with $41.58. Within this number that we've spent, $23.41, is an estimate for Cornwall Electric in the Wi-Fi. I still haven't received the final invoice, so that's pending. Related to this, and a sidebar, the Wi-Fi in Cornwall Village to date is costing $29.97. Again, that's still waiting for Cornwall Electric's final invoice.
Okay, fine. And Richard, you were going to speak to the Cornwall improvements, is that it?
It's been a slow process, and I can't seem to extract a full commitment or an exact number, but there does seem to be a conceptual willingness to contribute something.
Okay.
So that's about as far as I can ever get. So
Just
we
a
can't take it to
comment,
the bank.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
That's what I'm
interrupt.
saying, we can't take, until they commit it, or commit to it.
Right. Obviously, this cost us rather more than we had hoped. Okay, we should stay on. Gary, you sent all the details to...
Yeah, it was in that,
Okay,
actually the email had it all.
right.
Has there been any, you were asking for feedback at a point in time.
Yes,
Yes,
last month I had
no,
asked for feedback because the free Wi-Fi is up and running.
That's what I was going to comment on, by the tennis courts, which doesn't feel very far from the library. I don't find it to be great,
Okay.
even there. That's the place I hang out sometimes, so I've tested it a couple times from the tennis courts.
Can we turn, I don't understand electronics, but can we turn it up somehow?
Not necessarily. It should be fine at the tennis court because the primary
Not too bad.
access point is the library, and then it's boosted over to town hall and sent across the green. But the tennis courts are so close to the library.
That's what I would thought, but I couldn't get it to load much of anything. But I
There's a
can try
myriad
that.
of issues if you're doing it during the summer when trees are full.
Oh,
You're going to get a much lower strength signal than when the trees are bare in winter.
okay.
But that's
And again, you're not playing
using
tennis in
courts.
February.
Yeah.
We'll get paddle courts. That'll solve the problem.
Heated.
Okay, well, thank you. I know you've put a ton of work into that, so I appreciate it. All right, that's fine. Then, let's see, unfinished business. First one was the EDC mail account. Explore Cornwall and the website. Jane?
It's still a little unfinished, only because I went to sign up to make an email account for the EDC, and they asked for a backup email. And I didn't think I should do that with my own, so I thought you should probably be the backup email. I can set it up, usually you have time tomorrow. If you want, I could set it up with Bianca if you could do it, or if you have time, but I thought it should have one of you as the backup email and contact rather than me.
I wonder if that's a good idea because, we will evolve. Sorry, Anna.
It can be passed along.
Potentially, should we see if we can contact Jonathan Barry and use like a town email address as the backup, because it is an EDC committee email, so it should be linked to a town account ultimately, probably rather than a personal one.
Exactly.
You
They
can
could
talk to
go through
Barbara,
the-
because we're setting up,
Yeah.
we're doing cybersecurity, so they are restricting who's on the town's email stuff, but Barbara's coordinating that.
It could also go through the Explore Cornwall website. In other words, it could be edc@explorecornwall.com, if you want. Just, the reason behind this is that when these things are due to be renewed, the person with that email has to do it. And it seems to me it's
Fine,
going-
once you put me on it, and then when I get replaced,
You pass it on?
I will pass it on to the next unfortunate
Well, that's
person.
what I figured, it gets passed along.
That's fine. Is there a subscription we have to pay?
Not for the email one. Well, no, we already paid for the website, and it includes an email.
Okay, and we think we can get a Cornwall EDC?
When I first emailed you, we could, but somebody now has Cornwall EDC, so it'll have to be, I think, Cornwall CT EDC, or something. It changes all the
All right,
time, but
let's grab it,
something
whatever we
close.
can fast.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know who got Cornwall EDC, but somebody. So,
Cornwall, New York.
could be Cornwall, England, could be Cornwall, New York, could be
Sounds, who knows?
anything.
Okay,
Simon,
that's
before
good.
going on, related to this, Jane, you said, is the Explore Cornwall paid up to date?
Now I believe it is, yes.
Because I got a
was-
message from Janet that
Oh.
she had paid $30.25 and asked for reimbursement. Is
Right.
that what you're,
Well, it was out of commission because it hadn't been paid in a
Right.
timely fashion, so I guess she then paid it.
right,
But what I'm saying is that if those emails came to the EDC, they come in time and the EDC pays it, then you don't have a non-functioning website for
Right.
3 weeks or something.
so it sounds like we need a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve a $30.25 reimbursement to Janet Carlson for the Explore Cornwall renewal fee.
Could I also say something to this? I believe that the website needs to also live with the leadership of the EDC. You know, it should also rotate. It shouldn't be living with Janet at this point. I know she started doing that, but I think it needs to move on every time leadership changes. So I would like to see that being moved over then to Simon. The
So
same
I
thing
need
goes
to
for
write to
the
Janet.
Explore Cornwall Instagram
Yeah,
account,
it's
so
all
that
the same.
we have a better handle on that in the future. Because if things change, they do change.
What you just saying, you're trying to create an email that is,
When you sign up for a website, you have to have, or
I know,
Instagram, you need an
you're
email
trying-
address.
The email you're trying to create is going to be something to the effect of Cornwall's EDC.
I mean, it could be anything, that just seemed easy to remember. It
Right,
could
right.
be anything.
So
The
all-
point was to sign up the accounts with that email and that Simon or whoever happens to be the
but
chair has it.
whoever has, all of these things ought to be going to that site. The-
That address.
And that address.
Exactly.
And then-
Exactly.
And then somebody ends up getting access to that address. The address doesn't change. The
Right.
address
The
doesn't change.
backup address changes, I think is what Jane is saying.
Yeah,
Right.
it's
Yes,
just-
And
the
the
backup
backup
person
one.
can change, but the address should never change. The
No.
address
Right.
stays the
Correct.
same.
Yes,
And when you become as chair, you have access to that address.
exactly. He would
Maybe
just
the
have to
vice
give the
chair has
password
access
to the
to the
next
address.
chair. That's all.
Then with the new chair, they get access to that
Yes.
address. I mean,
Yes. That's,
so it shouldn't.
that's the idea.
That's fine. So the ones we're talking about, which sites are we talking about? Bianca?
The website and the Instagram.
And the Instagram, yeah. This is the Explore Cornwall website
Yeah.
and the Instagram. yeah.
And yeah, Instagram and Facebook, all that stuff. Social media.
Fair enough. Let's finish that proposal. Do I have a seconder? Proposer, sorry. And a seconder? Okay. All in favour?
Right?
Any opposed? Good. Okay, so that's passed. Okay. And then we had a discussion last month about whether there was any way in a non-political way we could have a discussion of where our congressional candidates stand on business issues affecting Cornwall businesses. Oscar, do you want to elaborate on that?
Sure, I think the idea was, yes, in a apolitical way to better understand, not just congressional, obviously, it's actually more relevant to the state rep and state senate, because those are, there are going to be elections in both those offices. I think we're going to have a new state, it's an open seat for the Senate, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. If, you know, turnout in Cornwall is not an issue. There's a very good turnout of voters, but it's more of engagement and helping people understand where these candidates reside on issues. Are there actually any issues in the legislative docket that would be relevant to small business development and success in Cornwall that we should be made aware of? It's really more about engagement rather than which party you vote for.
And how would we assemble this information?
It's a great question. I was sort of opening. I wanted to hear what people had. You know, if it was a topic of interest, if people thought it was relevant, not relevant, it's going to be what it's going to be. Maybe it's not important, but you know, are there issues that this committee would benefit from understanding that are forthcoming, and understanding where the candidates reside on those issues might be helpful. Might be constructive.
So that we would serve as just an informational.
Yeah, I mean, there's issues, you know,
catalyst
there's
to,
issues
like,
around taxation, you know, small business taxation. There's issues around affordable housing. Obviously, that's a very topical thing here. There are some pieces of legislation that are out there that will affect small businesses in Connecticut.
I'm trying to understand how we can avoid getting caught up in a political war.
And it may be that we can't.
This. But perhaps another way of thinking about it would be that we had a periodic update, which Gordon actually does give us most of the time, on what initiatives are going through, certainly at the state level, which affect Cornwall. I just think if we start getting into, here's what the Republican fellow says, and here's what the Democratic person says, I don't know if, am I being incorrect on that, Gordon, or does that get political? It smells.
I think it could be a large project to find out exactly where people stand on precise things, but I think people, if they just look at candidates' websites, you can see who's addressing what issues, what are their priorities, come through on what they're stressing, making a value judgment as far as who is promoting policies that are the best for the town. I think could be a tricky thing depending on who makes that judgment, but certainly I think most of these people do have their own distinctive websites that you can sort of get a flavor from where they're going and what they feel the role of the state is as far as promoting small business. Or
so you wouldn't have a problem with our extracting that?
Well, I'd just say, look at, I think you get in a tricky situation if you're going to say this person's, I would just refer people to the candidate's website and let them speak for themselves. Because I think in this other, I wouldn't go any further than that.
That's what worries me. Yeah. Sorry,
So is there a list of who is running for what? Because I seem to be very much out of the, I know some of the Democratic people, but like on the other end of the spectrum.
The ballot will be printed fairly soon. Vera has it. They've already set the ballot.
Right. So
as far as what candidates running for what office
that
you will be voting on here.
Right, it may be too much of a third.
Does anyone else have any thoughts on this?
We usually get a lot of stuff in the mail that pretty well spells out what people care about. You usually start getting lots of flyers and things. Am I the only one who's getting tons of flyers and things? That usually, where the candidate has usually listed their priorities. What's not there is not their priority, presumably.
I just got the feeling perhaps we should.
Maybe it's too murky. I get it. Again, it was more about engagement rather than.
Yeah, but no, it's a good point.
You're getting flyers from one side of the aisle, probably.
I get lots of flyers from both sides.
I got one side because that's what I'm registered as, right?
you know.
I get one
and-
side, but I'm fine with it. Go ahead, Arnold.
Anna?
I mean, I generally agree that I think the question of the format it would be presented in and who would actually be doing the presenting would be a bit of a third rail, but down the road, because it would probably be too much of a lift for this election cycle, it might be interesting for the EDC to explore trying to host some sort of Litchfield County Economic Development Business Forum where the candidates were going to come and discuss these issues, and we could still collect community questions and have them address them in a community forum. And you know, that
That's
could be
smart.
in a collaboration with, you know, the COG or something, but you know, that would defer the third rail issue at least.
That's very good.
Yeah, I think that would be a safer way probably of doing things.
Yeah, no, I mean, again,
No, it's an interesting idea, I just,
Yeah, I think the idea of
I think we could
stimulating
fall
like,
through the
engagement
ice.
on that topic is important. though.
sounds me.
And somebody could put together a list of questions for the candidates, which they could answer,
Yeah.
which then could be made, you know, distributed to people. The same questions to each candidate,
Right.
just in case people can't make the date or something of the COG thing.
Okay. All right, moving on. You know, one of the questions was the ability of businesses to use empty commercial storefronts. Neil, you were going to talk about that. Obviously, it's become particularly relevant given that the Cornwall market is about to change hands.
Yeah, I mean, I've been having conversations with lots of folks about, you know, empty buildings anywhere from the library down in West Cornwall Village to, you know, the building across from Jay McLaughlin's storage facility to, I guess it was the old butcher, maybe, which I know is connected to that house, and maybe that'll be up for sale one day. Just examples of places where haven't had businesses for many, many years. And as I converse with different people, I hear lots of different things, like you can't have a business there because there's no bathroom, or somebody else might say, well, you can have a business, but it can't be hospitality, or it could be dry goods, but it can't be soft goods. And then I sort of looked up, you know, the law in Connecticut for historic buildings, such as the library, and there are exceptions to existing laws, you know, regarding bathrooms and such for historic buildings. So I'm trying to figure out how we can wrap our head around exactly what the laws are for each of our storefronts, so we really know what the opportunities are for those buildings. So it seems like for now, it's kind of too easy to say you can't do it, and I'm just not sure that's true. And I wouldn't want these buildings, again, the library is a great example, I've talked to Libby about it many times, so I wouldn't want these buildings to go to waste when we could actually be doing something with them. But I don't know, you know, who to talk to or how to sort of progress this investigation just to get to the next level.
Imagine with the library, you probably have to speak, I think it's Janet who's the chairman of the library at the moment, isn't she? Is that right?
Well, the owners of the properties are one thing, but it's understanding from the town, from Torrington Health, from a state level of what we could actually do, right? Libby is, as an example, she's the chair of the library, right? And she you know, we talk and she's, oh, we can't have a business if we don't have a bathroom. Like, is that because you think people need a bathroom, or legally you have to have a bathroom? And she's like, I think legally, but we don't actually know. And I think as a, you know, economic development committee, we can begin to help place businesses in some of these buildings, but they're kind of in limbo because nobody actually knows exactly what you can and can't do and what the limitations are. Again, from a town, a Torrington Health, and a state perspective.
Yeah.
Neil, I'm wondering if the person as a job that would be best helpful in this would be a real estate broker. Let me rephrase that, commercial real estate broker. Because you're looking at the ideas of what can be done in certain physical spaces. A commercial real estate broker if you introduce, here's the property, they could probably survey very quickly online and say, okay, this is what can be and what can't be. And that would be probably the person who would be able to match the property with someone who's interested in it, much more so
Yeah.
than something we could do.
I think that's a great idea. Does anyone have a recommendation of a commercial broker that we know that might be
There's a
friendly
guy,
and worth
yeah,
researching?
there's a guy named George Bingham who has been in Cornwall for a long time. He's here weekends sometimes.
Uh-huh.
He does do commercial real estate, so
Okay.
I could certainly ask him.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to start. And even if he can't answer, he could probably start pointing us in the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that would be somewhere, for example, that Mason could set up his operation.
I think it's pretty straightforward, you know, you have to talk to the owner and get their permission, and the second thing is you can talk to the health district, because that's usually who's going to give you a license to open a business to the public, and usually you have to have some facilities if you're opening a business to the public. If you're keeping it private, then that's different, but if most businesses are open to the public, you have to get a permission, you have to have some sort of meet the health code. And if the other thing for the town's approval, there's wide latitude if you're in the general business zone. Most storefronts are in the general business zone. Halls, garage, not accepted, notwithstanding. But from the town zoning standpoint, if you're in the general business zone, you can have a business. They're fairly small, but they're in Cornwall Bridge in West Cornwall. And then you have to get permission to host the public through the health district. And in the case of the library, that's historically been a problem because there's no bathroom. And there's a well near the library that services former Watery Moose. So you can't even put a porta potty within 75 feet of that. Hopefully the sewer thing will resolve a lot of those issues in West Cornwall. But until then, that would be my quick answer to your question. You have to have a willing owner, and then you have to get permission to serve the public, which requires the approval of planning and zoning, but that's pretty straightforward. The trickier one is you have to have something that will meet the health code for Tarn Area Health, and you have to have handicap access, which the building official will tell you how you meet that requirement. But it's not impossible, but those tend to be the three things that are really important.
So not straightforward. Okay. Well, yeah, let's see. How do you want to progress this?
I mean, I'd be willing to do some legwork for it, and I heard like 90% of what you said. So I'll have to circle back on it or Jane with some of the extra detail.
Okay.
And then I can send an email to folks, and I'm willing to just start doing some investigation.
Fair enough.
Well, can I ask,
Okay.
can I ask one follow-up question?
Sure.
So given, obviously, long timeline for the septic project, but it is approved, given long timelines to find entrepreneurs who want to open businesses and need business plans, and like, is it worth, in your opinion, revisiting those owners? Somehow, I don't know how, but the EDC somehow reaching out to these property owners, given a future vision of possibility, as opposed to like also current
So
state.
it's like an audit.
Yeah,
of
like,
what's available.
because these things take time. I mean, I know the septic is going to take a long time, but it also takes time to bring a business to life.
And also there are business buildings, especially in Cornwall Bridge, where you can open a business and have changed hands. I can think of 3 big spaces that have changed hands in the last 12 months or will change hands. So if there are people that actually want to have a business that requires big space, it'd be good to keep a list of those potential people, because occasionally there are things that come up that could accommodate various ventures.
Right. What's available today versus what's
Yeah.
available potentially for the future with
Here or
this.
something.
Right.
And obviously the issues we were just talking about didn't apply to the Cornwall Bridge properties, presumably, did they?
Hmm?
The issues about
Septic.
wheelchair access, bathrooms didn't apply to the buildings in Cornwall Bridge.
Well, a lot of those have brought, are in compliance now.
Right.
Yeah, so that sort of helps.
Okay. Gordon, do you want to, is that it for that one? Do you want to carry on, just give us an update on what is happening, what you are seeing and hearing?
In
Yeah,
what-
I think that's
In what?
Just generally about the economic environment in Cornwall,
Well,
changes.
it's sort of interesting because every year has been very different for the last 3 years. It's my sense, talking to various businesses, that we're seeing somewhat of a retraction in this fall here. I've heard that from people in various businesses, less foot traffic, less business in general. And again, it's been a bit of a wild roller coaster since the pandemic, but that's sort of what I'm hearing, which I think is really important for people to understand, that we're not in 2020 anymore, where people are where everything's full. But on the other hand, there are more people saying going out for dinner and things like that, so it's going to be, again, a mixed bag. I would expect Mohawk would have another banner year. People are still wanting to be outside doing recreation. I think, every time I go by the Cornwall the electric bike shop, there seems to be people jumping on electric bikes. So, I mean, it's going to be uneven, but overall there seems to be some retraction of just people, foot traffic. On the other hand, I think the demographic trend of people living here more is semi-permanent and is stable. So, it's so getting back to that, Oscar, as this idea of getting data together, and I have talked to P&Z people, and hopefully October, November, we'll start pulling some of that together, as well as looking back at the last couple of years, where are we going, and talk to people like Richard and Bianca. I know Richard has his volume pretty well monitored, follows other things that we've seen. And I'm not sure he wants to say this on film, but how's this fall been, Richard, compared to the last fall and the fall before?
I'd say that we've trended back to some level of normalcy, whatever that may mean, but there had always been a rhythm of some sort. I mean, it's tied to the school year. School is a little bit more normal. People are going back to school in person. I think people are going back to their offices or work in person, and both of those things mean there just aren't as many people in the town of Cornwall full-time. At a point in 2020, every house was full and overfull. And probably in 2021, every house was almost full, and maybe not quite as overfull. And now this year, they're more back to normal, and they're weekend people and less during the week. And I think that's exactly what you're saying. There's less foot traffic. There's still people recreating. There's still people out and about. I think the ski area will do well. The lack of water this year was a factor. The heat was a factor. Hard to have fun outside if it's 100 degrees. And fire danger if you sneeze incorrectly.
I would say today the 30-year fixed rate mortgage hit 7%, and the price of lumber is down to a pre-pandemic level.
Yeah.
Just some data points. I think the days of the heady real estate market are behind us, and people should be prepared for that.
But all those changes that did take place over the last 2.5 years, and there was a tremendous amount of property transfers. A lot of those newer people in town are welcome people in town. They're great to have. They're The people that are here, they're part of town. I've said over and over, some of those people were under 60. Some of those people were under 50. Can you imagine? Some of those people were actually under 40, and that's really exciting for Cornwall. I think, as you're saying, that show's over in terms of the speed. Even though Gordon touched on 3 properties just changed in Cornwall Bridge, 3 commercial properties, I don't know, maybe in the last 6 months. I'm not sure when the first one changed. 3 months ago, 4 months ago? I can't remember.
Yeah. I do think there's the overall demographic change of having more younger people in town is still here. So, you know, you may not see as much evidence of that because a lot of things are spread out, but there is, again, a lot of positives there. But I think, again, tracking where we're going, because I think every year will be slightly different than everything else. I did hear there's a couple of housing starts now, so you may see, I mean, again, it's just a little hard to predict where things are going to go, other than it's going to be different than it is now. Before we looked at things, you know, 10 years ago we were looking at a steady population increase, and then it sort of decreased, and so, but now it's going to be, there's large factors at play here, which we will be influenced by. But still a lot of opportunity, some good, I think Cornwall's positioned well in a lot of ways, but we also have to work on making it easier for people to do business here.
What I've seen, especially like with people not residing full-time in their properties any longer, there's more of an uptick in like renting out to Airbnb, more visitors to the area, raising more interest for yet other people to look at properties around here, maybe not immediately, but I definitely have seen many more visitors to the area at various different times. Curious to check out the town, and I think we should make the town more visitor friendly. That was going back to what was said about like garbage cans and sidewalks in the future, because I have plenty of people that come to me and go, can I put this somewhere? You know, and I used to have trash cans, one by the bottom of my stairs and one over by the post office that I personally took care of, and with the pandemic I just had to take them away. Plus, you know, people just would leave their dog poop in a trash can that would be sitting out there, you know, 90-degree weather. And you know, and if you take care of it yourself and you don't have a service just taking it away, but maybe there could be something worked out with you know, the 2 people at the transfer station, Will and Ted. If maybe there could be a program to facilitate some kind of, especially for visitors in the visitor-heavy areas like the covered bridge, so that, you know, when people leave, the town stays clean and they're not frustrated. You know, that goes back to bathrooms again too. You know, it's every time I have to.
The only thing I would say is any garbage they're bringing, there's no takeout food happening, so they're bringing this garbage with them.
Well,
Right?
the local has a few items that people buy, and
then they have garbage.
Yeah.
Because one thing, I mean, there's the expensive garbage cans, there's also bears.
right.
They have to be emptied
Mhm.
every day. You know, you can't let it sit there. And I mean, sometimes I find where there are garbage cans in public places, it actually makes a huge mess because people overfill them, and then there's trash flowing out of them. And
It's a tricky kind of situation, but
I always
at the
think
same
people could take their own
time,
garbage.
something, you know,
Yeah.
maybe they need to be indoors, you know. Businesses need to have them.
I just think we have to be careful that we don't create a bigger
Right.
problem than the problem by trying to solve it with public garbage cans, because it could make a bigger mess. I know they've had that problem in the parks and stuff, where they just keep,
How is litter picked up in Cornwall Bridge? I mean, does anyone get, is it just the Cornwall Association once a year gets there and cleans up, or?
It's not the Cornwall Association.
Sorry. Bart was leading a clean-up day.
That's Conservation Trust.
I'm sorry, Conservation Trust. But is that the only formal tidy-up process in Cornwall? Is that right? Wow.
Yes, and it's, the scale of it is about that.
No, I understand.
But that's specifically sort of for litter.
Yeah.
And for,
Right.
and we'd rather it not be placed that way, so it doesn't have to be picked up.
No, I understand. I was just interested to know whether there was a way it was done. Okay. Anything else, Gordon, or is that it?
That's it.
All right.
We are going to start meeting regularly on the West Cornwall project.
Good. Okay, on to the next. I think the next one is update the business listings on the Cornwall website. And Jane, you found a list.
I've got
Which you
the
distributed.
grand list, but we're going to need to sort of filter it
Yeah.
to those that are appropriate for the website or those that want to be on the website. But it's the best thing we've got to start with, I think. And I think it was updated in January last, so it's not.
Yeah, I have to say I was having trouble printing that out on my computer. If you've got a very up-to-date,
I haven't tried to print it, but I have it, and I
I get something very strange. I've got one in miniature, but I can't get one in.
I can probably print it.
Okay. Yeah.
I think Jane was more working on a list so that we can contact businesses for the business gathering that Neil has sort of in the future.
That was the idea.
That was the idea. And Arnon has been working, I think, with Rocco on updating the website a few
So we can
Yeah,
little
there's-
steps at a time.
Yeah, so basically there's the business directory,
Mhm.
and then there's the Explore Cornwall tab of the Cornwall website, which features some like key businesses to be most attractive, but there's lots of people who aren't necessarily on there who are on the business directory. There's probably about a half dozen that are being removed because they're no longer active, and about 8, I would say, that are being put up that weren't on there, but that's certainly not comprehensive. And in general, Rocco is just excited to get a dialogue going with the EDC on that so we can
Good.
manage it further, because there are some
Should I,
opportunities for collaboration.
yeah, should I send him some emails? I mean, an
Yeah,
email
yeah.
with the things that need to be taken off. I mean, there.
So
and the
he
business
has,
listings. There are quite a few that are no longer with us.
yeah, so he has that list, as long as it's not more current than the last one that you gave me, he's gotten those ones.
Mhm.
So I would expect those to be reflected on the site soon. But if there are any new ones, if you want to send it to me, I can cross-reference against the email I sent him. And add it in.
Well, that's good. So you're in touch with Rocco, and that's working. So it sounds like the 3 of you, the 4 of you with Rocco.
Yeah.
I just need.
So you're probably, Bianca, you're probably the best equipped to be able to look at the names of these things and know who's doing what's what.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
therefore you get to have the
Good. Okay. That one sounds like it's under control. Next one is formation of a subcommittee to plan next year's Cornwall Day. Mary, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, well, I was just thinking, we definitely have the objective of it being more ownership of this Cornwall Day on the businesses themselves, and having, each commercial center having sort of a lead or an ambassador. So if we think it's a good idea to sort of continue along that path and see where we can take it, I guess this relates to being able to reach out to the businesses. So, I mean, obviously I can reach out to some of them, but,
Right. Have you managed to form a committee? I remember that.
I mean, no, not since we had a subcommittee here,
Okay.
but I don't have a committee that includes business owners,
All right.
besides Bianca.
Well,
No,
you
but-
do.
yeah.
That obviously makes a lot of sense, and we should do that in advance. And as you gave us a very detailed summation of your views of how Cornwall Day went at the last meeting, so we should make sure that those get addressed through the committee. So will you think about who you would like to be on that committee?
Sure. I guess my question, more of a first step, is how because we don't really have a mechanism yet as a commission to reach out to all these business owners, you know, I can do it and
You
just.
need the list.
Right, I need the list, or,
Circle.
and I'm fine just doing it piecemeal, but I don't want somebody to be left out because I don't know them or whatever. So I just wonder if we need a more formal way of like sending an email to the business owners. And this would be one thing to discuss, this other meeting that is on the horizon, I'm not sure.
I would think you could just select which businesses you want on the committee for, at this stage, and see how we get.
Okay, well, I could solicit
Does
something.
anyone disagree?
No, I think that's a good idea, but I think, you know, maybe, you know, with Neil, you know, doing a business gathering, at that gathering to also reach out to the businesses.
Yep.
Right.
To, you know, because there'll be always, you know, people that like doing stuff like that and will volunteer, and others who don't. You know.
Okay, well, that's a good segue into Neil. You were going to update us on your plans for the business gathering?
So I don't have anything new since the last time that we spoke. I know that we were thinking about the date that the group wanted to do the business gathering and whether or not they wanted to do that live or through Zoom. So I think if we could agree on the timing and how we want to do it, then, you know, we could, based on that, we can back out a plan of how to invite everybody, and then when we can send that little summary to the Chronicle. I just think we need to agree on the date first and the location, virtual or live.
And we probably need the list for you to figure out who you're going to send it to. So we're back to the list again. All things depend on this list. So I think the first step is getting that list updated.
I think we should be able to do that before next meeting, wouldn't we?
Okay, so that would take us through.
So that we should have, so if you wanted
Late
to go ahead and
October.
choose a date, we can have it ready by then.
Which means the earliest we could get this into the Chronicle, if my calculations are right, would be December. Is that right? So if we have it, the
Well,
list
unless
ready
we
by
choose
the
a
end of
date.
October.
If we chose a date now, we could get it in November's, right? Or, well, yeah.
I think it's probably likely we could pick a date tonight.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I sort of thought this was kind of a networking, I would absolutely vote for a live meeting. I think it should be a social quasi-networking, quasi-opportunity for whatever set pieces we have, whether it's an update on the town or the mission of the EDC or the summer program. We would have to have some agenda. But I think the idea of getting all the business owners in one place, seeing each other face to face, talk about what's good, talk about what's not good, I think that'd be hugely valuable. And I think first quarter 23 is probably more likely.
And probably we'd have to do it in the town hall, right, in the big room there. I hope.
To your house.
Or in this room, but I agree, I
I think
think
this
a very specific agenda needs to be
Sorry?
developed. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, town hall, I don't think the space is conducive for, it's not the right atmosphere, this room works.
Is this going to be big enough? If
Yeah,
we
it
have-
depends on the number of people. We just need a
Yeah.
I'm not sure we're gonna get 100 people to come to this, but you never know.
Well, I'm assuming most of us would get it.
Right. But I do think I agree with Oscar's point that I think we just need a very, very specific agenda first,
Yeah,
and
I
like,
agree with
what
that.
is this event? And why should people care to come? And
And I can send the original agenda around again, and I'll probably make updates to it just based on where we are in the year. But I can send a draft that around for input from everybody.
Okay, and eliminate the changes to the mission, because we agreed to
Yeah.
approach that separately.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then are we saying like January, February, March?
maybe late January when.
late January.
Yeah, I think there's
Quiet.
not a lot going on,
It's
yeah.
quiet, yeah.
Get higher attendance.
Clamoring for.
Yeah.
Something to do, exactly.
And what day of the week would this, like, yeah, well, would it be a weekend thing or I don't know.
Right, and then do we need to provide refreshments?
100%.
Of
Yeah.
course.
I think we do, which is going to be another budget item.
Yes.
So we need to, as we think about this, we need to come up with some estimates as to what that's going to be. And we'll have to have a motion on that. So you'll proceed with that. Do we want to try and set a date for this? Well, when do we,
Yeah.
to get this, we'd have to get this, still have to get this into the December Chronicle, right?
Yes.
Which
November
means that it
15th.
needs to be in by what, November the 15th? So we can actually set this next month.
Why can't it be in January, Chronicle?
No, yes, but by December 15th, we need to give it
Well, I think,
for
so
January.
people get it on their agendas.
So it could be in,
Well, probably in
December or the January, maybe both.
Yeah, I think it needs to be in December so people can plan a little bit ahead.
Yeah.
I think we've got
Okay.
plenty of lead time. I
Yeah.
mean,
I think both would be great, if we want to maximize the amount of people so that they can plan ahead. They could be in December and January, that would be great.
Yeah.
Weekend or during the week?
It's hard for business people sometimes. Well, depends on your business, but
Yeah,
I guess
that
if it's
sounds
in an
right,
evening.
like
Early
weekend business
weekend?
is not going to be good on the weekend.
What do you guys
The
think?
trade business probably won't be good.
it should be
during-
a cocktail time networking reception with a theme that is doing business in Cornwall or future of small business in Cornwall, hosted by the EDC, or whatever it is, but
do
it
you
should.
think a weeknight evening makes
I would have
sense?
thought a weeknight made more sense. But
I
maybe I'm
think
wrong.
so.
What do you think, Richard?
I think people are busy.
Work every day. For me, the weekend starts Sunday.
I think if we pick a weeknight, we need to get a town calendar out so we don't
Yeah.
put it on like a P&Z or Board of Ed meeting or something like that.
Yep.
You know, we also need to make sure
I
it's
think a
not.
weeknight might be better though for business people,
Thursday
no?
night?
That sounds good.
Yeah, Thursday, I'm a little not so sure about weekends myself.
Thursday. Thursdays, there's not much on Thursdays, like one.
Third Thursday is Board of Finance, so you have the fourth Thursday, second Thursday you're good. I think.
Which I'm not.
Thursday.
Okay, so we definitely won't be planning when Simon has a meeting, so.
Well, you might decide you wish to, your decision. Okay.
Simon, just an observation, the Chronicle will be part of the communication, but I think it's one of the minor parts.
Mhm.
This is going to be outreach to the businesses.
I agree.
That has to be personal outreach. We cannot rely on the Chronicle's announcement to be core.
Yeah,
It needs buzz.
We should be able to send out an email from the
Yeah, but I'm sure you
EDC.
can make emails.
Well, that
Yeah,
is-
that's,
I think it's also.
Why don't we go to, here's what the solution is, I think, at the next meeting in October, let's give some time to go down the list and figure out, I mean, out of, the 10 of us or 11 or 12 of us, whatever it is, we must know a fair proportion of those people, I hope. Then we can allocate names to.
But before doing that, we need an agenda. What's the goal? How is it
No,
going
I
to be
agree, but
accomplished? What's the
this
structure
at
of the
least will
event?
let us know who's in a position to call Richard, for example. I mean, I can't think of any other way of doing it. Does that make sense? Okay.
Well, back to the list is what it really is.
Everything seems to be getting back
Yeah.
to this.
Well, in a way to
Yes.
communicate broadly would be a huge step.
Right. So maybe if we could get the list together and also get the telephone numbers
Possible.
of those businesses on them, that would be ideal. Gary, you look critical.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on, my focus is getting a one-sentence summary for an invitee that is going to motivate them to show up. And that's the gist of the event.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, Neil,
think
you
we're
said you're
all
gonna
just-
update the agenda, so perhaps at the October meeting, we also sort of
Right.
really need to dig into that and define it very clearly.
Right.
sure.
I think, the important thing is we're going to have it in January. We're going to be going right through the holiday season, which means that this thing may get lost in the shuffle. So we need to get a lot of this planning done up front. So let's make that a major item for next month's meeting.
The last Thursday in January is January 26th. Just throwing it out there.
January 20,
That's the last Thursday in January because
26th.
the 26th.
Yeah.
Because the third Thursday is the finance board, right? Is that what you said?
And that would give us the opportunity to have this meeting, you know, just a couple days before and talk about any last minute.
Right, because everything should be nailed down by then. All right. Good. I think that's it for the agenda. Does anyone else have anything else they want to bring up?
Yes, related very much to a lot of themes. The annual Newcomers Tea is October 15th at the library, 3 to 5. It's when all newcomers over the last 3 years have been personally invited. Gordon's speaking, many of the organizations are speaking. It's a great opportunity, and please show up. We need goodwill ambassadors. Last year there were 100 people attending. So, and it's a great way to find people to get involved.
So that answers the question that we can't get 100 people into this room.
It was outdoors.
Okay.
This room can hold 100.
Yeah, I know I'm out that day.
It's better if it's
Are
quiet.
other members of the commission able to attend that?
I cannot.
If I'm here, I'll be here.
Working.
Yeah, just let me know.
So I probably cannot, so this is actually, I wasn't sure where I would work this into the meeting, but my wife has gotten our apartment set up in Morocco and her school is running and everything, so I'm going to be departing at the end of October, probably the end of the third week of October, to go join her. So in the meantime, I know once I leave the town of Cornwall, I can no longer serve on the committee.
Not true.
Oh, okay.
You have to be an elector as long as you don't become an Moroccan citizen.
Okay, well, I'm not doing that, so you
This
know.
is where you vote.
Yes, this is where I vote, so I would love to stay as long as I can, as long as you guys like me,
Keep
but,
your vote down.
So you're
yeah,
going to Morocco, is that what I'm hearing?
to Rabat, we'll be there through June, we'll be back the first week of June for the summer, and then depending on who offers her positions, she's either staying at her current school, or we're gonna go check out somewhere else in the MENA region, but,
Wow, that's exciting.
yeah.
How exotic, so you can zoom in. Well, there's another reason why we should change our meetings to
So
Zoom.
yeah, if we are able to do Zooms, I would love to still be a part of things, for sure.
Will you invite us to Rabat?
We got two beds
It's in
in
the
I
Morocco.
don't even know where that is.
The northern coast of Morocco between Casablanca and Fez.
That sounds,
Yeah.
that sounds great.
And that reminds me, can we take a vote on having the next meeting by Zoom? And again, the background to this is a number of people wanted to join this meeting by Zoom. The advice we've received is that we can, if we have a Zoom component to the meeting, we have to open that up to the public, which we're very happy to do, but that will require us to have a gatekeeper maintaining the Zoom, whereas if we have the whole thing by Zoom, it's much easier, as I understand it, correct? Well, we've done it before, so presumably we can do it again.
What's involved with being that gatekeeper? Is it very demanding to do? Is that?
I think it's just letting people in. You know.
Well, but I have to do that too. I mean, I always have to look to the left or the right and make sure that there isn't some funny business.
Right.
So we
Some
could
funny
do it
people
in
popping
person
up.
and still do that.
Yeah, but I think we.
No.
There's also technology involved.
Yeah, I think the main issue is if, let's say, 4 people come to the in-person and everyone else zooms in, you need to have a screen
You need to have
capable
to
of
monitor
displaying
the-
them. You need to have a sound system, and you have to then be able to merge that with the physical recording. And just trying to do
Right.
this.
My guess is that it would actually be easier for the majority of people if we reverted and fully.
I'm sure it would be easier. My sense is that the dynamic of discussion is very different on Zoom, and there isn't much, usually. That's the downside.
I think there is some impact to that, but as I've listened to the conversation tonight, I don't think there's anyone around here who's been remotely shy.
Perhaps we could try alternating as a,
I disagree. I think there are parts of conversations that are not happening because we're recording the meeting, including as a moment Gordon asked Richard a question and even introduced it by saying, because this is being recorded, so we're not having the freest of conversations.
They're all being
Whether-
We're all going to be recorded one way or the other.
Even if you're in person, the meeting will probably be recorded.
Yeah, Richard records us.
Why?
Because Richard's going to show up and he has a right, he or anybody else has a right to make a record of any public agency meeting.
I prefer Zoom. Well, it's easier, it's more environmentally friendly because you don't have to drive
Especially in the wintertime.
In the wintertime,
It's
too.
nice to be able
Yeah,
to just.
when there's an
Right.
ice storm, we
Yeah.
could still have a meeting.
But I mean, for example, tonight Janet couldn't join,
Yeah.
Neil obviously
I think
is
also your audience can't
Philadelphia,
really.
Duncan couldn't join. And we haven't got exactly any representation from the public. We've typically had one or two people who, almost, in addition to Richard, who usually join our meetings.
Perhaps we try to move forward with our regular meetings over Zoom with the expectation that we will need to have quarterly or biannual in-person meetings for certain planning, aspects of developing like a Cornwall Day kind of thing or something like that that requires some more collaboration.
Yeah, that's fine. And also, Gordon, I think you said that we're planning to get the technology in place.
Yeah, eventually we'll get the ability to have hybrid meetings, hopefully here and at the town hall. So that will happen eventually. But I think from the participation level, even though it's better to see people live than a little box, I think participation is easier, especially if members live in Morocco or even if they, people travel or whatever else. I just think it's better to have people be able to watch what's going on or participate from a remote area.
I think meetings where where there's actually motions that need to be passed, there's actually business to be conducted, where there's a finality, Zoom is actually better. If this was a brainstorming session about, and it's open-ended, I get the point about having more conversation, but I think where we actually had to conduct business, Zoom can be more effective.
Well, let's go back to Zoom for the moment and see how it works. But I think that seems to be where the majority of the room is.
Okay.
So please correct your agenda. Next meeting is on October 25th at 7:30 by Zoom. Great, and with that, a motion to close. Thank you, second. Thank you, all in favour?
Thank you.
Excellent, thanks everyone.
Thank you very much.
Good
Good night, Cornwall.
Thanks Neil, I appreciate your participation.